Hey guys, so I have some interesting news. Today is Monday, Memorial Day, about 8 p.m., and I got a COVID test yesterday. So I think I'm going to do just a brief kind of synopsis of the day at the end of each day, and just kind of track and see the progress, and hopefully this will be helpful to somebody else maybe who has COVID, or maybe it'll just be interesting to be nosy about it. I don't know. So Saturday night, I had some shoots Saturday and I felt totally normal. And Saturday night, I went to bed and I was feeling a little bit achy in my chest and a little bit achy in my left hip. But neither of those are uncommon for me because I have two inflammatory disorders called piriformis syndrome, and that is an inflammation of a muscle in the back of your pelvis. And then I have chronic pericarditis syndrome, which is an inflammation of the pericardium, which is the kind of sac that holds and protects your heart. Reasons for those two that I won't go into. Anyway, having that kind of achiness in my chest and that achiness in my left hip was not uncommon at all. I didn't think twice about it. Saturday night, I didn't sleep very well, and I felt really hot all night. And the air conditioner stays on in my house the same temperature every night. So when I woke up Sunday morning, I still felt a little bit like my ears felt red, and like they feel red right now. And I just felt hot. And it occurred to me, if I have a fever, then I'm going to have to go get a COVID test. Because I'm a newborn photographer, and one of my very strict newborn studio policies, and especially now, is that if a client or any member of the client's household has had a fever in the last 48 hours, they need to reschedule. So even though I didn't really think it was COVID at the time, I had a fever, so to do my due diligence, I needed to go get a COVID test to prove it's really just a fluke. Who knows what it is, but it's probably not COVID. And I knew that there were drive-through testing sites available 7 days a week. So this was like 5:30 in the morning. So I call the local emergency room and I explain to a nurse what's going on. And he says, you need to get on the county's website and find out where the testing sites are, and they'll, you walk through the little prompts and they'll give you a time. So I did all that, and I was scheduled to be there at 11 a.m. At a testing site that was like 30 minutes from my house. So I got that ready, and then it occurred to me, what if the test at the drive-through testing site takes a week or something? I wonder if the test at the local emergency room would be faster so that I don't have to reschedule so many clients this week, and, I've already had to reschedule so many sessions, and I just didn't want to have to reschedule anymore if it wasn't necessary. So I called a girlfriend whose husband is an ER doctor and asked him, and he said, yes, it probably would be faster. They wouldn't necessarily give me a rapid test, but I would probably get the results faster than if I went through one of the drive-through centers. I said, okay. So I took a shower, I got ready, I ate some breakfast, I packed all my stuff, I went to the emergency room. Thankfully, it was early on a Sunday morning and there was nobody there. And so I went in and I kind of explained that I'm having some issues. It's either a pericarditis flare-up or it could be COVID, and I need to get checked out. And so when you have, pericarditis can be, life-threatening. It's not for me at this point, but it's considered a heart condition, and whenever you come into an ER with a heart condition, they kind of run you through EKG and, enzyme testing and all of this, blood work and stuff, looking for the possibility that you might be having a heart attack, which I knew wasn't happening. Pericarditis doesn't cause heart attacks. So anyway, but I've been through this before and I expected it. And so I explained to the ER doctor that I thought it was probably pericarditis, but that I'd never had a fever with pericarditis before, and that when I took a deep breath, it was more of a sharp pain and it would make me cough. And so he said, okay, well, let's do a chest x-ray and a CT scan and see what's going on with your pericardium. And I'd never had a CT scan for pericarditis before. They usually just do an ultrasound, but I wasn't going to argue with him. So they did the CT scan, and while I was waiting on the results, I was Googling CT scan and COVID, and sure enough, you can, chest CT can be a diagnostic tool for COVID. They can actually see like air pockets or fluid pockets or something in your lungs through a CT scan if you're a COVID patient. And some doctors think that it's actually more accurate than the test. So I thought, okay, that's great. Even if they don't want to give me a COVID test, we can rule out COVID by seeing that it's pericarditis. So I waited for the results to come back, and he comes back in and he says, everything looked normal. But I am concerned because you have a fever and because you are kind of coughing after you take a deep breath that it is a possibility that it could be COVID, so we're going to go ahead and give you a test. And the results will take about 48 to 72 hours. So I was like, great, okay. So they did the test, and then they sent me home, and there's like an app that you have to download so that you can track your symptoms and have contact with a nurse. You have to like put in your like temperature twice a day and let them know if you're having any new symptoms, blah, 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 blah. So I did all that. I kind of feel like Big Brother's probably tracking me, but I'm okay with that because I'm staying at home. I don't have anything to hide. So anyway, I came home, felt about the same last night. I went to bed. Still had kind of interesting thing was, just like when you take your car to the mechanic, it never does the thing that you brought it to the mechanic for. I didn't have a temperature at the hospital. Of course, it was also freezing there, but my temperature there was 98.4, I think. And so I come home and I do the little check-in on the app, and my temperature is back to 99.1, which isn't a high fever, but it's technically still a low-grade fever. So I went to bed. I woke up this morning feeling about the same as I did when I woke up. I did kind of my regular hippie remedies. Excuse me, that's my cat jumping on a box. Kind of my regular hippie stuff with liposomal vitamin C and elderberry syrup and some Chinese tea powders and oil of oregano. And my girlfriend Laura, who's the one who her husband is the ER doctor, texted me and asked me if I, gave me a list of things that I needed to be taking that were all kind of natural supplements. And the one that I didn't have was vitamin D. So she said she was going to drop some vitamin D off on my porch, which was super sweet. She lives like 30 minutes away, and she has 3 young kids. And not only did she bring me vitamin D, she brought me some amazing chicken noodle soup and gluten-free crackers and sanitizer spray. Anyway, and Zicam, and I feel like I'm forgetting something. Anyway, super, super, super sweet, because I'd only told like 3 people at this point. And she was one of them, only because her husband's an ER doctor. So then I check my temperature this morning. It's still 99.1. I check in with the app. And then at about 11 or maybe 12 today, like close to lunchtime, I start to just feel really run down and drained and tired. And the achiness is kind of like all over. And I still have the aches. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go lay down and rest. And I start looking, I sign in to the website that the nurse told me was where I would be able to find my lab results. And I look at my lab reports, and lo and behold, it was not normal. And nobody mentioned anything about anything abnormal at the emergency room, which I thought was really odd. So I've looked at the blood work, and it says, I'm going to butcher this, but forgive me, eosinophil, something in your CBC, was low. Lymphocytes were low. Monocytes were low. And neutrophil count and percentages were high. Now, from what I can tell, they weren't like crazy, like off the charts, but it was marked as low. It was marked as high. I looked at the, parameters. It wasn't like right at the borderline. It was definitely low and high. So being the Google queen that I am, I had to figure out what all that meant. And of course, there's a correlation with COVID and these specific highs and lows. So apparently, if I understand correctly, and of course I'm not a doctor, but this is what I understand. You don't believe everything that you read on the internet, blah, 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 but it kind of makes sense. So normally lymphocytes, which as I understand are white blood cells, are high when you have some kind of infection. But for whatever reason, with COVID, they actually become low. So that kind of made me a little bit nervous. So I went about my business and got some work done and got some editing done, and my temperature is still 99.1, and I'm just gonna kind of see how it goes. So this is day 2, and I think I'm going to kind of try to check in each evening and kind of go through what the day was like, and of course update when and if I get test results, and kind of do a little documentary of you know, kind of what it's like, because if it is COVID, maybe this would be good information for someone.